And over, the last couple of hours, it's really changed dramatically.
In what way?
Everyone is just so struck with grief.
Well, it's now just after 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're outside the main entrance of Westminster Abbey, and these are the people who have been here for up to 48 hours. All kinds of people, young, old, all united in their determination to say a personal farewell to the Princess of Wales. Meanwhile, thousands more were pouring into London, to the coach and to the train stations, and into Hyde Park, where the funeral would be relayed on giant screens. Many had waited all night here too. And along the route they were making the last preparations for a princess. It was time for the final touches to the final tributes.
We're just ready, really. I mean, ready to see her come. We've been waiting and just looking, well, not looking forward, but we're here to show her that we love her, to show that she's the people's princess.
I, talking to a family outside the House of Parliament, come down from Newcastle on the train, and I mean, they were just determined to come.
Outside Westminster Abbey, one of the clergymen due to officiate at the funeral service spoke with some of those who'd gathered. The scenes, he said, were extraordinary.
Brits are usually not very good at this sort of thing, and suddenly the heart factor, as opposed to the head, has dominated everything. And it's a wonderful experience of unity, that it's where we are as human beings, ragged edges and all, that's where the start is. And today is an affirmation of our humanity.
And it was, of course, to be one more day of flowers for the princess. London can never have seen so many flowers. Police helped to line the route with the bouquets, and for them it was the beginning of a day of emotion from which they are not immune.
Especially if you start reading the cards. I've tried not to. Because we're supposed to, of course, keep an eye on the crowd and try and keep our demeanour, so I've tried not to.
But how do you think you'll cope with the day?
It will be difficult, but it's part of my duty. So I shall cope as best as I can.
It's now just an hour before the funeral cortege sets off, and along the route it's almost silent. There's a growing solemnity as the people wait for the coffin of the Princess of Wales to pass. And that will be the hardest moment of all. The moment all these people have come here for, yet one they can hardly bear to witness.
I bet you won't hear a pin drop when it goes by.
And so they waited, thousands of people, for mile after mile, lining the streets of London to say their quiet goodbye.
And so to the funeral itself. At precisely 9:08, the gun carriage carrying Diana's coffin began to emerge from Kensington Palace. James Metz describes its procession to the Abbey.
Surely the saddest sight the streets of London will ever see. The body of a princess carried from her palace on a gun carriage of the King's Troop Royal Artillery, flanked by the men of the Welsh Guards. The only sound, the clatter of hooves and the weeping of the crowd. More than 1 million had come to say a last goodbye, to offer up a final prayer. They stood shoulder to shoulder, 10 deep, always in respectful silence. The coffin shrouded in the royal standard, crowned by wreaths from the Spencer family and her 2 sons. Prince Harry's bearing the single word, Mummy. The Queen led the royal family to the gates of Buckingham Palace to salute the cortege as it passed. It was down the Mall that Luciano Pavarotti. Hillary Clinton represented her husband. Lady Thatcher, just one of the former Prime Ministers to attend. Mohammed Al-Fayed, grieving for a princess and an eldest son. Diana's mother, Frances Shan Kidd. And finally the Queen and the Queen Mother. As they had left for the Abbey, the Union Jack, flying above Buckingham Palace, had been lowered to half-mast. A unique tribute, but this was a unique day. Behind the cortege, there now followed a procession not of the great, but of the good. 500 people marked out by their work for the charities closest to the heart of the princess. All now within earshot of the Abbey's tenor bell. A single muffled chime, counting off the minutes to 11 o'clock. The long journey from Kensington Palace was over. A nation was ready to be led in prayer. A nation commending her soul to God.
The service, put together in a few short days, was a perfect mix of ancient and modern, encapsulating the complexity of Princess Diana's life. There were guests from around the world, and political leaders rubbed shoulders with stars of screen and popular music. Her sisters both read appropriate lines of verse, but it was the uncompromising tone of their brother's address which brought spontaneous applause from those inside and outside the Abbey. Here's John Suchet with his reflections on a tradition-breaking ceremony.
At 11 o'clock precisely, to the chimes of Big Ben, the coffin of Princess Diana was taken into the Abbey. Behind the pallbearers, the two young princes. The cortege in a slow, sad procession through the great west door. Heads bowed as the coffin was taken down the main aisle. And the choir of Westminster Abbey lifted their voices. On top of the coffin, a simple card from Prince Harry, then a wreath placed by Prince Charles and his sons. The soprano Lynn Dawson sang from Verdi's Requiem. Diana's elder sister, Lady Jane Fellows, sounding so similar to her, read Time by an unknown author.
Time is too slow for those who wait, too swift for those who fear, too long for those who grieve, too short for those who rejoice. But for those who love, time is eternity.
The Prime Minister, Tony Blair, continued the theme of love by amending the lines on faith, hope and charity in Corinthians.
Love never faileth. But whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you well grow in our hearts. You are the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country, and you whispered to those in pain. Now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Loneliness we've lost, those empty days without your smile, this torch we'll always carry for our nation's golden child. Even though we try, the truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you brought us through the years. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. The candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Goodbye, England's road. may you ever grow in our hearts. You were the greatest place to set where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, this road from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you will ever know. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. Footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hill. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
The Princess's brother, Earl Spencer, paid a deeply personal tribute to his sister.
I stand before you today, the representative of a family in grief, in a country in mourning, before a world in shock. We are all united, not only in our desire to pay our respects to Diana, but rather in our need to do so. For such was her extraordinary appeal, that the tens of millions of people taking part in this service all over the world, via television and radio, who never actually met her, feel that they too lost someone close to them in the early hours of Sunday morning. It is a more remarkable tribute to Diana than I can ever hope to offer her today. Diana was the very essence of compassion, of duty, of style, of beauty. All over the world, she was a symbol of selfless humanity, a standard bearer for the rights of the truly downtrodden, a very British girl who transcended nationality, someone with a natural nobility who was classless, and who proved in the last year that she needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic. Today is our chance to say thank you for the way you brightened our lives, even though God granted you but half a life. There is a temptation to rush to canonize your memory. There is no need to do so. You stand tall enough as a human being of unique qualities, not to need to be seen as a saint. Indeed, to sanctify your memory would be to miss out on the very core of your being. Your wonderfully mischievous sense of humor, with a laugh that bent you double. Your joy for life, transmitted wherever you took your smile, and the sparkle in those unforgettable eyes. Your boundless energy, which you could barely contain. But your greatest gift was your intuition, and it was a gift you used wisely. This is what underpinned all your other wonderful attributes. And if we look to analyze what it was about you that had such a wide appeal, we find it in your instinctive feel for what was really important in all our lives. And here we come to another truth about her. For all the status, the glamour, the applause, Diana remained throughout a very insecure person at heart, almost childlike in her desire to do good for others, so she could release herself from deep feelings of unworthiness, of which her eating disorders were merely a symptom. The world sensed this part of her character and cherished her for her vulnerability, whilst admiring her for her honesty. The last time I saw Diana was on July the 1st, her birthday, in London, when typically she was not taking time to celebrate her special day with friends, but was guest of honor at a fundraising charity evening. She sparkled, of course, but I would rather cherish the days I spent with her in March, when she came to visit me and my children in our home in South Africa.
But there was a bitter rebuke for the media and an apparent warning for the royal family.
It is a tribute to her level-headedness and strength that despite the most bizarre life imaginable after her childhood, she remained intact, true to herself. There is no doubt that she was looking for a new direction in her life at this time. She talked endlessly of getting away from England, mainly because of the treatment that she received at the hands of the newspapers. I don't think she ever understood why her genuinely good intentions were sneered at by the media, why there appeared to be a permanent quest on their behalf to bring her down. It is baffling. My own and only explanation is that genuine goodness is threatening to those at the opposite end of the moral spectrum. It is a point to remember that of all the ironies about Diana, perhaps the greatest was this: a girl given the name of the ancient goddess of hunting was, in the end, the most hunted person of the modern age. She would want us today to pledge ourselves to protecting her beloved boys, William and Harry, from a similar fate. And I do this here, Diana, on your behalf.
And then from Earl Spencer, what amounted to a direct warning to the royal family about the young princes, William and Harry.
And beyond that, on behalf of your mother and sisters, I pledge that we, your blood family, will do all we can to continue the imaginative and loving way in which you are steering these two exceptional young men, so that their souls are not simply immersed by duty and tradition, but can sing openly as you planned. We fully respect the heritage into which they have both been born, and will always respect and encourage them in their royal role. But we, like you, recognize the need for them to experience as many different aspects of life as possible, to arm them spiritually and emotionally for the years ahead. I know you would have expected nothing less from us. William and Harry, we all care desperately for you today. We're all chewed up with sadness at the loss of a woman who wasn't even our mother. How great your suffering is, we cannot even imagine. I would like to end by thanking God for the small mercies he's shown us at this dreadful time, for taking Diana at her most beautiful and radiant, and when she had joy in her private life. Above all, we give thanks for the life of a woman I'm so proud to be able to call my sister, the unique, the complex, the extraordinary and irreplaceable Diana, whose beauty, both internal and external, will never be extinguished from our minds.
There was an instant reaction from the crowds watching in Hyde Park. The applause taken up inside by the congregation. Then a last hymn for Diana.
let us commend our sister Diana to the mercy of God, our Maker and Redeemer. Diana, our companion in faith and sister in Christ, we entrust you to God. Go forth from this world in the love of the Father who created you, in the mercy of Jesus Christ who died for you, in the power of the Holy Spirit who strengthens you. Amen.
The final act of the funeral service. At midday, the princess's coffin was taken slowly back through the congregation to the west door. For 1 minute, the world paid its last respects in silence. bell broken only by the bells of the Abbey. Flanked by a forest of flowers, the pallbearers took the coffin to a hearse for Princess Diana to begin her final journey home.
Across the country, people paid their respects in the silence, as we saw, and in their own special ways. Here are some of the images of how a kingdom united remembered Diana. The journey from the Abbey north to Althorpe brought yet another astonishing display of the affection Diana inspired. Gone was the silence of the procession to the service. In its place, applause and a cascade of flowers. Penny Marshall has the story.
It all began in the shadow of the palace, and so it was to end. Diana's hearse, framed by silent mourners, passed by just after noon, and the country ached with sadness. For every person on the street, there were another 1,000 watching and listening across the world. But this felt an intensely British goodbye, for in the words of Diana's brother today, a very British girl. All along the route, her passage was strewn with flowers. The hearse showered. A procession no official had orchestrated, no tradition had prescribed, an overwhelming gesture meant for Diana alone. There was silence save for applause as the hearse nudged its way through the banks of mourners. At times it came to a near halt through pressure from those waiting to glimpse it, almost from the sheer weight of bouquets. And sometimes, weaving through the crowds, the procession was almost lost from view altogether, the police outriders finding a path through. As the procession drew away from the capital, the mourners never diminished, nor did the garlands, nor the sense of loss. The Abbey may have said goodbye to royalty before, but the suburb of Hendon has never had the chance. Turning towards the M1 at Brent Cross, London was preparing to let its princess go, back to her childhood home in Northamptonshire. Here still thousands came. A royal cortege on a motorway slip road surrounded by families stacked up the banks and the bridges. In life, Diana had touched unlikely and unloved places. Today, in death, in an unremarkable urban landscape, she did the same. On the M1, unable to see any longer, some flowers were removed from the windscreen before the hearse, now flanked by police, moved on. But still on the motorway there was more flowers, more people snaking forward off the hard shoulder and pressing onto the motorway as traffic on the southbound section stood still. It was a scene repeated for 50 miles. Diana, Princess of Wales, was without her family on this section of her final journey northward, but not for a moment was she ever alone.
So what did Diana's people make of this day? Has it helped to ease their pain and their grief? Did they agree with what Earl Spencer said about the press and about the royal family? Caroline Kerr has been finding out.
At lunchtime today, they poured out of Westminster Abbey after a service of almost unbearable emotional intensity. They left agreeing it had been faultlessly apt. The great and the good, the glamorous and famous, the ordinary and unknown, all of them in their way, friends of Diana.
It was a most genuinely moving service, and it managed to combine in an extraordinary way the popular and informal with the royal. And I've never been at an occasion like it, and I'll never forget it. It was a most remarkable occasion.
Service today, she'd have loved it. And I think that's what was so wonderful about it. I felt all the way through it. If you were here, you'd enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying it.
For most, one point had a particular poignancy.
The most moving moment for me was when Earl Spencer made his tribute to his sister. And outside the Abbey, we could hear the applause as everybody, the people power, showed itself again. And I heard the applause grow, and it came through the west door, up the aisle, and everybody started applauding within the Abbey, and it made your hair stand on end. It felt like the applause was going all the way up to Diana herself in her coffin.
And as those people who'd applauded outside the Abbey left in their thousands, they were also discussing the Earl's tribute to his sister.
I thought he was very, very, very accurate. Something I think most people around were very surprised that he actually said it. It was almost a direct, if you like, attack on the royal family.
It did sum up the mood of the nation. I really feel that. And yeah, it was, I mean, there were gasps outside when he said certain things about rejection, and we all knew exactly what he was talking about.
He got a bit near the bone at times, I have to admit that, but I think it would help him in his grieving to have said it.
But not everyone agreed that his comments had been appropriate.
He's entitled to his opinion, but I don't think church was the right place to say it. He was in a cathedral. He should have. He has said his piece. The royal family have had no defence of it.
But this was not a day for argument. It was primarily a day for grieving. After the highly charged emotions of the morning, people seemed reluctant to go straight home. Hours after the service was over, they still were being drawn here to Kensington Palace, where they found an atmosphere of calm and mutual sympathy. This was a time for saying a personal goodbye, for reflection and for looking back on the highs and lows of an extraordinary day.
Hearing all the Verdi, was it, and Elton John, we were just crying. People just were uncontrollable listening to the words. The words were so appropriate for her. The whole thing is very, very uplifting. It's a feeling of hope and inspiration, and I think Diana was inspirational.
I think it sort of lifted something from the shoulders of the people. But I think that people will continue to mourn Diana's loss for quite some considerable time.
Today, at least, the whole nation was allowed to grieve openly and together, in the hope that the common experience of mourning will go some way to heal the sense of loss.
Later, crowds lined the route all the way to the Spencer family home at Althorpe. The people had, in spirit and in their regard for her, carried the princess every inch of her final journey. Here's Tim Ewart.
Diana's cortege left the motorway for the final leg of an extraordinary journey. Now in the heart of England, it followed a route to the ancestral Spencer home, a route the princess herself had taken so many times in the past. After swifter progress on the M1, the procession now slowed, travelling at a gentle pace along streets lined with thousands of well-wishers. Nearly all had watched the funeral at home on television. And this is the last part of the route to Althorpe, through villages in Northamptonshire where Diana is still remembered as a young girl who came home for the holidays. Now she's being welcomed back for the last time.
She's very special to us here. She'll always hold a special place in our hearts. She was special to millions of people across the world, but here in Northamptonshire is her place, and we're here to welcome her home today.
I appreciate Princess Diana, so I'm going to see if I can get these flowers on the car.
You're going to throw them on the car?
Yeah, or either on the car or under.
And so he did, one 9-year-old's tribute to someone special. He was one of many. The flowers that had followed Diana all day continued to rain down on her. The grandeur of London, its palaces and Westminster Abbey, seemed far away now. In these country lanes, there was a tranquility and a sense of journey's end. At the gates of Althorpe, painful reflections on a week that began so terribly in Paris.
These flowers were the flowers my husband bought me for our first wedding anniversary, and he gave me them in Paris last Sunday morning. And when we found out, I preserved them as best I could, because I wanted to lay these particular flowers.
Althorpe is a fitting resting place. The spot chosen for Diana's grave, an island in an ornamental lake that she had always loved as a child. Through the fields came the royal train. It brought to Althorpe Prince Charles with William and Harry, and Diana's mother, sisters and brother. Then at last she was home, the cortege slipping away from public view, for Diana to be buried surrounded only by her closest family. It was an intensely private ceremony for someone who in life had been the object of such relentless attention. And outside Althorpe this evening, amid the flowers, a picture of the princess and a single candle flickering in the wind.
Tonight the crowds are still outside Diana's former home, Kensington Palace. Some are there just to see for themselves the millions of flowers. Others are queuing to add their names to the books of condolence. As darkness fell, more and more people joined the throng, refusing to go home after a day no one will ever forget. The queue to sign the books of condolence which have been moved there from St. James's Palace are still growing longer by the hour. Since the books were opened just under a week ago, at least 50,000 people have signed them. A fitting people's tribute to a people's princess. For a final assessment of this tragic week, this day of farewell, I'm joined now in our studio by our royal correspondent Nicholas Owen. Nick, would Diana have approved of today?
Oh, I think she would. Look at that service itself, an amazing blend, as we've said, of the traditional and the non-traditional, her favourite hymns, her Christmas card list for the friends there, the charities and the families, Elton John singing, who didn't either cry or nearly cry at that. And how proud she would have been of her two boys conducting themselves so well over the last couple of days. And then that great show, really, on the way to Althorpe, those flowers tossed onto the car, oh, that was definitely in the unusual category, and I think she would have absolutely loved that.
It's perhaps much, much too early, but what will one make of her legacy? How will that be judged? What do you make of that?
Well, I think there's, first of all, as we said, the two fine sons, and then there is all the business of her charity work. That will live on and grow, and especially the crusade against landmines. She changed world opinion on that, and it would be a jolly brave politician who would try to go against it now and undo any of her work there. But immediately there is the new Diana Princess of Wales Fund, which was only established on Tuesday, and already £120 million has been raised for that. And a new recording of Elton John's song as a result of what we heard in the cathedral today, in the Abbey today, that will be added to the pot, and that's likely to be the biggest selling recording of all time. There was one single donation, I'm told, of £3 million. And so various charities are going to benefit from that. But, Trevor, you know, there's one thing that money will not be spent on. There'll be no monuments, no public monuments to the People's Princess, and Diana would certainly have approved of that.
Nicholas Owen, thank you. So there's never been anything like Diana's funeral today, and there almost certainly never will be. She lived her life at that intersection of old values and the new, part traditional royalty, part modern international celebrity. But what commended her to the hundreds of thousands who surrounded the royal palaces with flowers, and to the millions who poured into London to watch her funeral procession today, was that she reached out to ordinary people, victims of AIDS, leprosy, landmines, and she convinced people, even those who'd never met her, that she was a part of their lives. She'd always said that she saw her role as being a queen of people's hearts. The memorable images we leave you with tonight suggest that the people of Britain felt that she was all that, and much, much more. From all of us here at ITN, good night.
Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. You called out to our country, and you whispered to those in pain. Now you belong to heaven, and the stars spell out your name. And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Loveliness we've lost, those empty days without your smile. This torch we'll always carry for our nation's golden child. Even though we try, the truth brings us to tears. All our words cannot express the joy you brought us through the years. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will. Goodbye, England's rose. May you ever grow in our hearts. You were the grace that placed yourselves where lives were torn apart. Goodbye, English road, from a country lost without your soul, who missed the wings of your compassion more than you will ever know. And it seems to me you've lived your life like a candle in the wind, never fading with the sunset when the rain set in. And your footsteps will always fall here along England's greenest hills. Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.
Good evening. Well, by the end of today, we will nearly all have seen some rain, courtesy of this warm weather front. Now, over the next 12 hours or so, that will clear out of the picture, only to be followed by another one into the far northwest, but it is coming up against a bank of high pressure, and that will ensure that most of us tomorrow will stay mainly dry, and indeed that goes for much of the coming week too. But it's far from dry across many parts just at the moment. A lot of rain and drizzle around, getting down into the far south in the next couple of hours. But later on in the night, it will tend to die away, many places becoming dry, and fairly mild too, temperatures remaining in double figures just about everywhere. But a fairly grey scene tomorrow morning, still some patchy drizzle here and there, especially in the far northwest of Scotland, and some heavier bursts there from time to time for much of the day. But elsewhere, away from northwestern coasts and hills, it could well brighten up, especially to the east of high ground, eastern parts of Scotland, northeast England in particular. And where that does happen, well, we could see those temperatures lifting quite nicely up to, well, 20 to 22 Celsius. 22 is 72 Fahrenheit. That's pretty good for early September. There will be a breeze, though, especially in the north and west, and that will restrict those temperatures there, especially in the cloudier parts, to around 16 or 17 Celsius at best. That's about it from me. I wish you a very good night.
Your Sunday evening viewing. The main change is a story of Poirot at 9:15.